I know every parent would probably say this, but for me, Tom was the perfect son. There was never any trouble at home with him. His school work was very good. He was excellent at school, excelled at sport. And like most young men, with the exuberance of youth, they like to prove their physical prowess. And he left school to join the Army Foundation College in Harrogate to train to be a soldier. And then after 12 months, you choose your regiment. And Tom, at a very young age, he was only just 18, got into the parachute regiment. And he served for 2 years in the parachute regiment. He was involved in Sierra Leone, rescuing hostages when they were held by the so-called West Side Boys at the time that were going to execute military prisoners. Tom went in with the SAS and effected a safe rescue, so he got a medal for that. Very proud of him at such a young age. And it was then that I said to Tom, can't you find a safer role within the army than the parachute regiment? Because as you well know, they are in the vanguard of anything that goes on. And he had expressed an interest in civilian police upon leaving school, but there were no cadet schemes available at the time. So he then decided to transfer, with my full blessing, to the Royal Military Police. And sadly, that's who he was serving with when he was killed. I always remember the name. He said, my name is Major Ken Potter from the Army Notification Service, and this is Captain, and I didn't even hear his name. And I can only describe those words when he said to me, Mr. Keys, I regret to inform you, Tom has been killed in Iraq this morning in the line of duty. I can only liken it to being whacked in the chest with a sack of cement. Every ounce of energy goes out of you. And Sally had never opened the window and said, what's happening? And I said, Sal, I'm sorry, but Tom's been killed. And her first words were, Reg, this isn't the worst. The worst is when this sinks in. And she was absolutely right. And that was how we found out about Tom's death. And I asked Major Ken Potter, well, have you got him? Have you got him? You know, thinking, have they got the body? Has he been dragged off? Has he been abused? And he said, yes, we've got them. We've got all 6. So there was a weird sense of relief, as if it was going to be okay because they'd got his body. You go through this maelstrom of emotions, which are quite irrational at the time. And then it was some time then before the repatriation at the time to Bryce Norton. And Tom has come from a very loving family. And if he'd have died in a hospital bed of an illness or from an accident, you could hold their hand as they passed away. That would be some comfort. But Tom died surrounded by hatred and venom. Angry voices, gunshots. He was shot 23 times in total. Many of the earlier rounds would not have been fatal. And he was finally dispatched with a shot to the head. What those beautiful green eyes would have seen, it haunts me. And the angry voices, people stripping his belongings off him. His helmet had gone, his dog tags had been taken off him as a trophy, his watch had been taken off him, photographs had been taken off him. And my understanding from the interpreter is that one of the lads was holding up a photograph of his child in the hope of appealing to some shred of humanity they may have, and they just shot him. So this is all what led to the demise of my wife. It's that horrible moment. What did those beautiful eyes see in his last moments? Now, I had to know, as a father, before Tom went to his grave, I had to know what happened to him. So I went to Oxford to speak with the pathologist that did Tom's post-mortem, and I spent 2 hours with this pathologist, and I know what happened to my son. And when he came back from Iraq in a coffin, I was told it was a sealed coffin because of what they'd done to him. And I said, no, it isn't. And I removed the lid from that coffin in the funeral parlour. I shook that man's hand and I dressed him in his uniform for his funeral. Whether I should have done that or not, because that's a sight that will stay with me forever. And I thought long and hard about it before removing that lid. But the way that lad met his death, he just did not deserve it. He was there to try and help them. The official war fighting phase had ended. He was there to train the Iraqi police to discipline their own tribal people and bring some sort of law and order to the area. And that was the thanks he got. I've kept some of the closer personal belongings, his razor, some of his clothes, his sandals, his notebook. He came back still with sand amongst the leaves of the pages from Iraq. and I just keep his memory alive in my mind. I've got my photographs and I've got my memories, and one or two very closest personal possessions, and of course his medals.